All right. I guess let's just get moving. For those of you new to the town hall, we've been holding these every 2 weeks, and we have kind of a couple different formats we're running with. We have sort of short and sweet with topics that we want to go over, and then we have the longer format that we'll spend kind of deep diving all the progress of the team. And we're doing those at different cadences. So we'll kind of do the deep dive every 6 weeks, and then every 2 weeks in between, we'll do kind of these more surface level, just breeze through some updates and then have open discussion and open questions for you all. So we're in one of those more lightweight ones this week. And I'll breeze through those updates. So that's kind of the format. First up, welcome. I like I mentioned at the top, I see a few new faces, so really nice to have you here. And if you have any questions along the way, go ahead and use the hand down in the Discord interface. Raise your hand, and we can get you up on stage to ask your question. Or if you prefer to do it more asynchronous or quietly, just jump down into the general channel, and you can type your questions there, and we'll bring them up here on stage and get them answered. So like the agenda, I shared the notes on that. We'll go through some quick announcements, some general updates, and then just mention some specific changes that have happened around here that maybe you all will be interested in. And then finally, I want to open up a discussion kind of about the world we're living in right now for Web3 and how we're thinking about that, and just get people to share thoughts. And it would be a fun discussion. So first thing is, obviously last week we started dropping announcements of the rig fleets and sharing some sneak previews of each of the 8 fleets. So just as a reminder, the rigs NFT, it's a generative project, and it's built from over 1,000 different pieces of art that are all then randomly assembled into one of these 8 fleets. And so we started giving a sneak peek of those. And if you check out the notes, I have a link to each of the preview tweets for each of the 8 fleets. And pretty excited about that, and kind of really aligns with the lore that we're building around that NFT. And if you haven't already picked up on it, the NFT is going to be really an important component of the community here. And we really see it as a really important ingredient to building technology like we're building. And also like how to do storytelling and build an actual community and experience around this technology. So pretty excited about that. Check each of those out. Related to that, we've opened up what are called fleet channels. And this is just a fun little experiment to let people pick the fleet that they're kind of a fan of, jump into a private channel with just other fans of that fleet. Well, actually, the fleets are grouped by the environment that they're suited for. There's 4 environments of Tableland, so you can read about that all in the blog post. But so there's 2 fleets per environment. So if you pick a fleet that you're a fan of, you'll jump into that environment, and you can chat with the rest of your fleet and the other co-located fleet. There's not a real significance to these channels yet, but we will start giving kind of some sneak previews of different arrangements of possible NFTs in those, and other things that we can think to share and just kind of have fun. And it will probably build out a lot more as the NFTs get closer to being real. So just more coming on that front. But definitely check that out down in, right now it's in the rig fleets category under rigs welcome. There's a way for you to just play around with selecting your fleet. And we'll build that out and play with it. Some other general updates. We've been pushing forward on the workshops. We had the technical workshops. So we had our 4th one last Friday. That just got posted up on YouTube. We had some good feedback on just how we were organizing that, and kind of like setting up text, setting up the cadence, like managing questions. And we decided in response to those that moving forward, we're going to actually use Zoom as the primary venue for the workshop. We'll do our best to get it also streaming out to YouTube if you just want to watch, but if you want to join and actually be asking questions and engaging with the team along the way, we'll start doing that on Zoom. So more updates on that at our next workshop, 05, and that won't be until next Friday, so a week and a half. Two other things. We had a really fun chat a week and a half ago with Raphael from Toucan. He's the founder of Toucan. Toucan is a protocol for bringing carbon offsets onto the Ethereum blockchain and L2s. And it was a really fun chat. Definitely worth checking out. That's also now up on YouTube if you want to watch it. And then this coming Thursday, we're going to talk with Pooja from Circle. And so they're building a brand new company around how to onboard developers, how to build momentum around development and contributions to protocols and projects from outside of core teams. And so I'll have a bunch of fun questions to chat with her. She's a good friend. So I'm sure we'll talk about a lot of things. And you can learn about that in our events just in Discord, and we'll get a Twitter space posted there that you can subscribe to in the next day or two. And then like I said, that'll land at 9 a.m. on Thursday morning, 9 a.m. Pacific. So I'm just going to blast through some of the specific building updates, and then we can just jump into the discussion because I think that's the fun part. But like I said, if you have any questions about any of these specific updates, just raise your hand. We'll put in a little pause here before we have kind of a fun discussion at the end, and we can dig into any of those. And that goes for the team too. If you have any questions about these updates, then you want to chat about them, just raise your hand or jump on stage and ask them. That's all good. So the one big update that people here that have been in the Discord for at least a few weeks now probably noticed is that we rearranged the Discord quite a bit. We focused on really kind of the onboarding into the different sections and really tying the categories and the topics of each of the channels to the lore that we're building. So if you read the Rigs NFT blog post, for example, it presents kind of this world of Tableland, and so we're gonna find different ways of making that lore become part of the real experience. And so you can see that all coming. I think we're getting very close to a stable next version, and so what you see is kind of where it will be. There's a couple small changes still coming, but nothing major. So that's that. We have right now we work as guilds in Tableland, and we have a plan to make all of our guild chats public as well, but we're experimenting with that, the layout of those in private first, and that's going well, and so hopefully we can open those up soon so that you can all kind of read daily updates of what we're doing and what we're discussing, but some really cool stuff. Another thing that we've been if you are familiar with Tableland or Textile previously, and the way we run, we're really interested in the organizational and collaboration tools that we build and how we manage distributed decision making and scaling the org and all that. And one really cool thing that we're doing now is we're using system-wide versioning. So I put a link in the notes here to describe the concept, but if you're a developer, you're probably familiar with Semver. If you're not, it's the software versioning that you sometimes see that's decimal based, and so you can read the so it's like 3.1.1. If you're not familiar with that, you can just read the link that I have in the notes. But we're starting to use that for our full organization to track the versions, and so what's really cool is every other Monday that version ticks forward, and we have a lot of outputs that are attached to that version, and we have decisions that were made, and even this town hall is now a consequence of that version moving forward. And so you'll see in the agenda notes I put our current organization version, and so this is the town hall for that version change. And I'm pretty excited about that, but we'll start creating some documentation around that, and we'll start using that version around Discord as we're reporting the progress, and you'll start seeing it. So just giving a heads up there. Pretty excited about it, but it might take a little getting used to if you're not a developer by background. I was hoping that we'd have some updates on the programs track, actually. So this is stuff like the events. We do have a really big project we're working on here, but we're a little bit, I think we're still another 2 weeks away from being able to share those details in the town hall. But we should have some cool opportunities. If you are building or plan to build with Tableland as a small team, like 1-3 people or a larger organization, definitely ping us, and we'd love to just hop on a quick chat with you, maybe like 15 minutes, learn about your project. We might have a really cool opportunity for you. But in either way, we'd love to just learn what you're planning to build and find out ways that we can help support you and give you feedback on how you're thinking about using Tableland and all of that. So ping us on Discord. If you go down to the garage is where we do all our technical discussions. Just jump into the dev chat down there and either let us know what you're building, or if you want to jump on a chat, you can tag me or tag anybody on the team, really, but tag me and let me know, and we'll set up some time to chat. All right, last set of updates are the product and protocol updates. Just kind of two really cool ones. One is that we've been working to outline the SQL spec, so making a really detailed document about what SQL is supported and how to use it on the Tableland network. That's partially shipped, so you can see the section about data types there. And then the next piece is that we've landed a bunch of the work around access control. So this is the ability to change the rules about who's allowed to write or update your tables and integrate that into your smart contracts. And so this is one of the key pieces of Tableland, and I'm very excited to get that out to you all. And it has really big implications for how you build with it and what types of things you can build. But we don't have it in the documentation yet. And so that's the last kind of piece here is we're working on a big overhaul of docs. Basically, docs have more or less been showing what we launched in the beta with just some small updates. But as we've been progressing with the product, not all things are getting reflected in there. So we want to do a major overhaul, and that actually includes changing the where we're hosting docs to make it a little bit faster to update this stuff and keep you all up to date. But that access control stuff is awesome. So look out for some updates around that in the next week. As we get docs rolling out. And then, so I see a couple pings. 210s, happy to chat. Yeah, I'll hit you up in a DM after the town hall. CDA coach. Yeah, for sure. Do you think that could be like... So the question, if people aren't reading down in general, would it be worthwhile to create a list of projects building Tableland? Maybe we can make that like opt-in and just give users a way to get their projects listed. I think that would be very cool. So we can experiment with that for sure. And then we can include that in our docs. Or that actually reminds me, we've been talking about this internally. We'd love to start making more public showcases for all of you building stuff. So like actually having full community up here on the Mesa or in the public channels, like letting you have demo time and get like real-time feedback on your projects or on the tech you're building. Very excited about that. So very related to that, CDA coach, we'd love if you're looking for those opportunities, let us know too. We'll try to get your projects out there. So that's all I had for updates, just blasting through that stuff. Let me pause there and just say first, if anybody in the community has any more questions, keep them coming on general, or raise your hand here if you want to do it on voice. And then second, anybody on the team, before we move on to the discussion, but on the topic of the updates, if you have things that I missed that you think would be fun to share, or if you want to add any more details on the stuff I breezed over that you're particularly excited about, like jump up here and let the people know. So I'll pause there, give it a second for anybody. Yeah, CDA coach said we could always use more feedback. Yeah, I've been thinking about this a lot, like different types of feedback we could give teams and like formats for that. So we'll work on some processes to do that, and like how to get our time and like how we can help you best. And we'll have more on that for sure, because we want to help too. And then Carson, more feedback from the community on the SQL type spec for sure. So do you want to actually share a bit about that, Carson? Like, what are you looking for? Maybe jump up on the voice and give people some prompts.
Test.
You're in.
Can you hear me? Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is just if folks can take a look at that, ask any questions that aren't clear on what the implications of like the minimal types subset that we're going to support has. If you're like, oh, how am I going to represent this, data structure, this table schema that I'm, looking to support? If you have questions about that, that would be great. I think that we're keeping it to a really small, strict subset of types, but you can represent just about anything you can imagine with that small set of types. But any feedback there is pretty helpful. Like, oh, in past projects I've always used this, or I need I need really fine-tuned control over my integer types or storage layout or something like that. Let me know. And whilst we are sticking with this very small subset initially, we're formulating a process for the external community to come up with proposals to add and remove and mutate things with the spec over time. So there is opportunity for changes, if we run into some limitations that this initial spec presents. Anyway, that's it. Just take a quick look. It's pretty short, so you can kind of consume it quickly. And if you have a chance, please do.
Cool. Thank you. All right, nice. So I'm going to assume that means no more questions for now. I thought it would be fun to just talk about bear markets. I think a lot of people on our team have been through bear markets before, and I thought it would just be a fun discussion to talk about people's perspectives on these moments, or how they're seeing the ecosystem change just over the last few days, or anything like that. And I thought I would just kick it off by kind of saying, I guess up front, that our perspective has always been like we've always thought of ourselves as an org as super practical people. We don't really get too overhyped on things. We love to really look for practical solutions to things and not build things that are purely hype driven. And so I would say that we've been fairly protected as an org from the bear market. Like, we're really just here to build useful things that solve stuff for creators. And I think that idea is just the exact same today as it was two weeks ago. What I think is actually changing is now going to be the sharpness of the focus in the community on building things that are driven by utility. Without so much speculation, diving into the market, there's going to be less opportunity for just vaporware being built and noise out there. And I think that's really exciting to just have really crisp conversations about useful products being built and useful ideas being experimented with, and having that conversation as all of Web3 be more clear for the next period of time, I think is going to be awesome. And I feel like when we come out of this bear market, it's just going to be such a better ecosystem than where we started, just because of that. So I'm actually pretty excited. I'm weirdly bullish on a bear market, for all the cool things that we can do. It stinks for a lot of people that had a lot of value wiped away, and that stuff is never fun. So I don't envy any of that. But I think as far as just looking forward, there's a lot of really cool things to do now. So I wanted to just maybe invite anybody on the team up that wanted to just chat about bear markets and questions or experiences or thoughts about how you're seeing the ecosystem unfold, or opportunities or experiences in the past. Let's just chat about bear markets. I see Carson and Sandra are already up here, but more of the team. And then anybody in the broader community, if you want to jump up here and have opinions or ask questions or anything like that, just raise your hand, let us know. We'd love to hear from you. But Carson and Sandra, you're both up here. How are you thinking about How are you thinking about this current moment?
Well, I think it's it's obviously there's a lot of bearishness, but I think I don't know, I feel like it's more complicated than the prior bear markets because there's just so much going on. And I feel like the forces that got us here are not fully understood. Like there's just so many different variables that lead to like complexity of the moment. Totally. That I think it could honestly be like a pretty short bear market. It could be super long as well, but if I had to put my money on it, I would say that it's not going to be like a standard 4-year cycle thing. It just feels like the world moves so fast right now.
Yeah. I've been trying to look for where a slowdown has already happened, and it seems to be mostly, it's on the investment side of things, and that would be like a leading indicator of new projects coming in, but like I'm not seeing any existing projects slow down, so the momentum is just so high still.
Yeah.
No, go ahead, Sander. I'll jump in.
I was curious how the big VCs are thinking about all the capital that they've already allocated, for these crypto funds. Are they going to deploy it elsewhere? It's not like it seems like there's a general bearishness all around, like the specifics around the crypto bearishness, I feel like will be the especially short-term stuff. Definitely not like, it's just like my opinion, man, but that mostly because I feel like there was a huge, with the Luna stuff, we're seeing like extra bearishness in crypto that I think is more just driven by that incident than anything else. So yeah, it's another complexity. But yeah, I don't know where
I know Carson wants to say something too.
Well, I was just going to say, I think I agree with Sander that this is not. We people on this team and people in the community have been through bear markets before, and this does feel different for a couple of reasons. One is most of the projects that I keep an eye on that have sort of come up and have been around with us for a while. This has barely affected anything that's going on there. They've already got like longer term funding that they secured a while ago. That's all earmarked and in place. And yeah, their crypto portfolios are maybe have sort of look a little bit scary in the short term. But I think a lot of the projects that have the longer term funding are just moving along as business as usual. The thing that I think is the most sort of interesting is that the bearishness seems to be a result of a bit of a sort of more cautious approach to investment in projects. I think probably Sander's right. This isn't good. I don't think it's going to be a particularly long bear run, but I think coming out of it, there's going to be a little more caution in terms of what types of projects get funded, and that just comes with maturity of a ecosystem, I think. So I think it's just been a big lesson learned for a lot of investment, and you're going to see a lot more like cautious, responsible due diligence, and there'll be a bunch of new organizations that crop up around doing audits and due diligence and all this stuff that we already see in more traditional markets. I'm pretty bullish on there being a whole wave of new service-based companies that pop out of this.
Yeah. I think that whole idea of the shortness, I guess, of the bear market, it's almost guaranteed to be kind of long. Not to say like we won't already be swinging out of it, but it's just that trailing impact of investment. So investment's going to have two sort of hits against it. One is, I think when investors collectively, like across the board, are aligned to reacting to a bear market, we're just going to see a drop in new valuations. I don't know if we'll see a drop in like total number of companies being invested in, just because, like you already pointed out, a lot of capital is already allocated to crypto funds and things like that. But valuations across the board are going to come down a bit, and like that whole, like, I think we were in just like such a FOMO moment, like even up to a month or two ago, where like anybody who was getting funded could just drive valuations pretty high up. That's going to go away pretty quickly, or has gone away, and will take a while to come back. Like, you have to be kind of in a nice upswing for that to really be coming back. And then the other place that it actually takes a hit is all the existing crypto treasuries that are used to drive innovation on the crypto networks. Have all dropped a lot in value, and so that means that there's less value to allocate to innovations on those networks. Going to like the axiom that I believe in, which is speculation drives innovation. There's going to just be less capital going towards innovation for a while, so that's going to be like the second order effect of this bear market. Like, first there's right now, then there's going to be this little downstream impact when we all realize the valuations are less and there's less money coming in for new organizations. Then there's going to be the third one, which is that innovation is going to slow for a little dip. So I don't know if you'd call those all part of the same bear market, or like echoing effects of the bear market, even if it's short, but we're going to feel them for a while, I think, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I generally have just felt like a real, like, instead of FUD, felt more of just like people really wanting sound, authentic projects that are building for the long term. You know, like, there's just like a craving for that I feel. And the FUD around projects that don't align themselves that way, I feel like it's in some way almost warranted, you know. But I don't know, it's all, I love the experimentation stuff too, so I don't think people shouldn't be doing small little projects here and there and making Ponzi games and stuff like that. I think it's all sort of part of the fun, but at the same, you can't just have that, you know. But yeah, I guess I always just think about something I believe in, or rather, I try and limit my belief system to long time horizons. Like, for example, in 100 years, I would be really surprised if most financial systems weren't crypto-based, just because it makes sense with all other trajectories of technology, like AI and space colonization, VR, and to get the path to get there is just going to be wild, you know. But like, I feel that limiting your belief system to long time horizons is kind of helps you orient and stay focused, for me anyway, like in these moments.
I was actually thinking of like two characters right now that have very different opinions than the like average crypto opinion from this downswing. One would be somebody who like bought crypto, you know, a year and a half ago and then left the community for a while, would come back and be like, wow, things are valued incredible. And then somebody who was looking to invest a month ago but didn't, would come in and be like, wow, there's some incredible deals out there in crypto. So it's all, yeah, it's like you're saying, it's just like, depends on the time slice you want to look at this from. Yeah, fully. I like those thoughts, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, coming from, I guess, a place where I'm coming from more of like a Web 2 background and recently coming into the Web 3 space, I feel like the thing that is feeling a bit different is that the overall theme of where things are going with Web 3 is still here. Like, I think there's this financial fear, which is existing across growth stocks as well. So it's not just crypto that's feeling that, or Web3 that's feeling that. But the themes themselves are still really strong within and outside of the Web3 community, I think. So, like, you still have all these sort of quote unquote Web 2 technologies that are still looking at Web 3 for innovation. They're still wanting to learn. These conferences are still happening. Like, I don't feel, and again, this is just a sense, like, I haven't seen that mentality shift. So it seems like the fundamental sort of thought and belief that this is paving the way of the future is still here. And it's more like what Sandra had talked about, like there's all these other factors that are sort of impacting the financial, credibility or investment that's creating this bear. So I think that's one thing that I'm feeling a lot of. But on the flip side of that, just playing devil's advocate a little bit, like I do think the Luna collapse, like what that does do is it does shine like a pretty harsh light on some of the things that are wrong with the way things have come to fruition. And I guess wrong might be a bad way of putting it, but for people on the outside looking in, it makes it scary. And so I do think it highlights sort of this need or this want to mature in a way where people are starting to get more practical, where like, it's less about just throwing all your money into crypto to try to like get rich quick, and more about like, what does the whole ecosystem really mean? How does it drive innovation? But I do think that effect is going to have some, lingering skepticism that would impact the funding and the money coming in. So I'm curious to sort of see how those come to fruition.
Yeah, Ryan Salkus had a great write-up, very much in line with what you're saying around just the spotlight on potential regulation. It's like a great time to be a hero regulator right now. Yeah, it could be a good thing, but yeah, I hope it doesn't stymie innovation too soon.
Totally. Yeah, and when it's that big, it's a bit, I don't want to say scary, but you're kind of like, you don't want it to be the impetus for, people coming in and using that story as a reason to start to stifle other pieces of it. And I think that's the part that I'm sort of watching front and center, would that impact the way things are being done? Hopefully not. But all that being said, I do think, at a macro level, I think the interest is just more and more. And the number of people that have reached out to me since I've sort of made more public that I'm working in Web3, like it's just incredible to see. I think everybody's eyes are still very much in this space to look at what's coming and what's new.
Yeah, maybe one positive outcome of the Terra collapse is that there's just hopefully like a slight cultural change where people just call immediate BS, if there's like 5,000% APY on something, it's like,
right.
No, not doing that this time.
Yeah, there's always the new generation though, like that needs to be educated or something. So it seems back to the idea of regulation, and I think your point that maybe it wouldn't all be bad. It seems like stable coins is like maybe the best place for regulation to enter crypto. It's like what it could be good for, leaving all other things off the table.
Yeah.
And Andrew,
Go ahead, Marla.
No, Andrew, you just kind of, another thing that had come into my mind that I'd forgotten was when you mentioned the new generation. Like, I think it was you who's previously said, like what makes a technology or thing real is how many people sort of buy into that idea and make it a thing. And I've heard that said many times. And I think that new generation piece is also really important. Like the reality of it is sort of the next wave as we all grow and mature and more people are entering. I think the new generation, young generation, whatever we want to call them, very much believe in this, in Web3, in a new internet. And so I think that's also like when you say, Sandra, what does 100 years from now look like? I personally can't imagine going backwards. I don't think it'll be steadfastly forward, like there may be a few steps back and then continue on forward, but I do think it feels inevitable, which is maybe biased because that's why I'm here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love those takes. I feel that as well, just the inevitability of the space. Yeah, it's hard. I mean, there's a macroeconomic climate that I think is also contributing to this, but even still, it's hard to see Bitcoin not living up to this dream of like being an inflation hedge, being something that's not correlated with the rest of the sort of economic construct of the old world, the non-Web3 world. But I definitely agree that this is the time to just keep building, and like legends are born in the winter. It's like, as long as we keep doing what we're up to and, continue to move things forward, I think we're going to end up in a really good place.
Yeah, I just kind of subscribe to I think that what's pretty interesting is I think that crypto is getting smashed with so many things at the same time. It's something that Sander mentioned. We still have like COVID consequences. We have like a war. We have money policies changing. We have the Luna disaster. So actually, I think things could be much worse than I expected. I don't have really a clue on how long this bear market will be. I have the sense that it will be somewhat long, or there might be even worse dips. But in any case, I'm usually really bullish on the long term, and I think it's pretty natural for disruptive technology to have this kind of behavior. Nobody's really sure about how things will play out. I'm a huge believer in technology, and I think that we as usually technical people are in a really good position to understand what is really viable or not. But there's also always the best technology not really always win. So there's also some speculation, or things can not really work the way you expect. And also regarding what happened with Luna, I think it's just learning again these hard lessons that we all know about, not really putting all your money in things and be pretty skeptical, and only if you're putting money, put money on things that you really understand. And if something's too good to be true, probably it is. So I'm pretty sad for all these people that trusted so much in something and maybe lost a lot of their money. I'm not actually sure if this lesson will be learned by everybody, because as was mentioned, there's always new people, and on bull markets, everybody maybe will forget about previous things. But I think that what I really like about this space is that if some project doesn't really work and gets wrecked, the whole space simply moves on into the next iteration. There's no government or party that will save some projects and continue them to live forever. There's no way to fake things here. If your project has some weak point in the tokenomics or the technology, most probably at some point it will be attacked or exploited, and the everyone else will kind of move on. And I think that speed of, let's maybe call it iteration, is what is really making all this space evolve pretty quickly. So yeah, pretty much aligned with everybody else.
I think like the only investment strategy I've ever had that has worked 100% of the time is only invest in things you really want to succeed, because then it's not really even about the fluctuations. You're always in it for that very long term, and you always kind of feel good about the investment at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Any last comments from the team? Anybody from the community that didn't get a chance to jump up here that wanted to? No requests. I think I'd be cool leaving it here if nobody else has anything else. I think that was really fun. We'll be back in 2 weeks. We'll have some workshop streams and some Twitter Space streams and Discord chats between now and then. So hopefully we'll talk to all of you. Cool. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thanks.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, y'all.
Ciao, y'all.